Welcome to the Bogosity Podcast for the 14th of May, 2012, the podcast that's crispy on the outside and juicy on the inside. This is your host, Shane Killian. Let's pervertedly pat down the news of the bogus. It seems that as more time passes, the TSA's atrocities get greater and greater. After many claims by the TSA that people can opt out of body scanners, known as Advanced Imaging Technology or AIT, and get a pat-down instead, Colorado teenager Savannah Berry, diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, was forced to go through an AIT scanner, breaking her insulin pump. Berry was returning home from a school trip when TSA screeners directed her through the scanner. She told them that her condition meant that she shouldn't be subjected to it, showed them a note from her doctor stating this, and requested a pat-down instead. They refused and forced her to go through the machine. The problems we've been seeing with abusive cops, it needs to be said again, is not a failure of individual cops. It's a systemic problem resulting in a particular attitude that lets them get away with horrendous behavior. Case in point, DeKalb County Police Officer Jared Wheeler was called to the home of Raven Dozier, then almost 9 months pregnant, on a domestic dispute. Wheeler kicked Dozier in the stomach, and his department says it was completely within policy. During the Cold War, the U.S. government encouraged people to build underground bunkers as a safety measure against possible attack by the Russians. Many of these bunkers survive to this day, including one owned by Air Force veteran Joe Del Rio, which he has since made into a workshop. Apparently, the mere existence of this bunker was enough for the Austin Police Department to send a SWAT team to his home, burst through his door, and detain and interrogate the 70-year-old man for over 10 hours. A woman, after repeated bullying of her gay son, which included throwing rocks and other physical threats, in desperation gave her son a taser to defend himself with, and as a result, school officials now want to expel her son, with no punishment to the bullies as usual. Daniel Chong, a student at the University of California at San Diego, experienced the horrors of the drug war firsthand when the DEA detained him for 5 days, completely neglecting him to the point of not even bringing him food and water. And now it's time to drop kick through the goalposts of honesty, this week's biggest bogon emitter. Michigan Secretary of State Ruth Johnson is refusing to print the name of Gary Johnson, the Libertarian Party's 2012 presidential nominee, on the Michigan ballot, even though the Michigan Libertarian Party has properly obtained ballot access. And now it's time to monetarily devalue this week's Idiot Extraordinaire. And this time, it's David Ellerman of the group Abolish Human Rentals, who posted a screed of economic ignorance so moronic it would make even Paul Krugman blush. And like a good Marxist, Ellerman treats the fact that we can actually work for money and afford things for ourselves as a kind of slavery, and economics as a hateful, immoral philosophy that treats humans like chattel, their only value being their labor services. His whole screed is a lame attempt to support the labor theory of property, which says basically that if a worker makes a chair at a furniture factory, that he, in fact, owns that chair, ignoring all of the other things that went into it, such as the capital inputs and design work, that the worker had absolutely nothing to do with.